Hello, my name is Rachel and I'm here today to film my wrap up for the month of September. In September I read 9 books and I had a pretty good reading month, though I didn't have a successful reading month in terms of my goals because I never pay attention to my goals and I piss myself off constantly. That was annoying, but apart from that, it was a good reading month. I enjoyed it. I used to do my wrap-ups in order of how much I enjoyed the books that I read, but today I'm just going to do them in the order that I read them because the order just works pretty well. It's already there for me on Goodreads. So the first book that I read was a reread that I'm only going to mention briefly because I feel like I've talked about this book quite a lot and it's not really a book that a lot of people would want to read, but it is called Nightlights by Lorena Alvarez and it's published by Rowell. It's a children's picture book and I just adore it. It has the most beautiful illustrations in it. Lorena Alvarez is a goddess. I decided to pick this one up and reread it in preparation for Hicotea, which I found out was coming out, which is a Nightlight story. I'm not going to mention this here because I read it this month. I read it last night actually, but safe to say it was good. It was very, very good. So I love my reread of that. That was delightful. The next book, now, I'm going to show you a physical copy of this book. I am beyond happy that I can show you a physical copy of it. However, I listened to it on audiobook. It is the 3rd time I've read it this year, the 3rd time I've listened to it on audiobook this year, and when I finished it, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have a job. I am earning money. I'm going to buy this book. I'm going to hold up the physical copy, but I didn't read the physical copy. I listened to it on audiobook. But it is Just Juliet by Reagan, probably coming as no surprise to anyone. I reread this because it was in my bisexual characters video thing that I made. I'll link it somewhere up above because I'm very proud of it. I think it's a good video. But I was talking about this and I was like, oh, I'm going to reread it. And then I did, and I listened to the audiobook, absolutely adored it. Again, this book follows Lena, a new girl moves to her school. She becomes infatuated with her and her sexuality begins to come into question. I absolutely love this book. It has so much representation in it, and as a bisexual, it has the best bisexual character that's a female that I've read thus far. So, would recommend this one. Loved it. 5 stars, obviously. And also, I'm probably going to read this again before the end of the year because now I have a physical copy and I'm like, well, maybe reading it physically will be different. So, yeah, that's probably going to happen. I read another book with a bisexual main character, but I didn't realise that it was. So, it is Her Royal Highness. Now, this book is by Rachel Hawkins and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I listened to it on audiobook. Now, book itself, 4 stars, seeing past the audiobook. The audiobook would not recommend. I would give it like maybe 2 stars. Whoever did that audiobook does not know what a Scottish accent sounds like, and this book is set in Scotland. There's a lot of Scottish characters and honestly the accents were so bad, like so bad. So would not recommend the audiobook. The only reason I carried on with it is because I was enjoying the story, so I was like trying to see past the accents. It was very irritating, so wouldn't recommend that. But Her Royal Highness follows a girl from America who moves to Scotland to a very elite university and she ends up rooming with the Princess of Scotland, and it's a very hate to love kind of thing. We love a good trope. It was good. It was cute. There was some cute moments. I wouldn't say it was my favourite ever, but I really loved that it was a very positive story. You didn't have people coming out in it. It was focused more on relationships and things like that and the outside world. It wasn't one of those like internal stories, which I feel like is very common for LGBT plus stories. So it was refreshing. It also just had a happy ending, which happy endings aren't that common either. So loved that. Would recommend, though I wouldn't recommend the audiobook in any way, shape or form. The next book that I read was Pumpkinheads by Rowell. Now, I gave this 4 stars. I think looking back I probably should have given it 3 stars, but I don't really mind because I enjoyed it. I don't have the physical copy, although I did read it. It is a graphic novel, but I've lent it to my best friend because we always swap graphic novels. So she's currently got it, so I can't show you the illustrations, but they are beautiful. It's illustrated by Faith Hill Evans. This is about a girl and a boy. I can't remember the names and I don't have the book. I think one of them's called Josiah and I can't remember the girl's name. Basically, they work on a pumpkin farm and it's kind of like Scarefest in England. So it's like a thing that runs over Halloween, like over October time, and you can go and look at pumpkins, you can walk through mazes, you can go and get like sweets and go on rides and things like that. And basically our 2 main characters work there. They work there every time that it comes round. they are best friends, but they're only best friends when they're there. They don't really speak the rest of the year. So it's about their relationship and realising that they aren't going to work at this farm again, so they aren't going to meet each other again unless they put the effort in, and it kind of makes them realise what they've got and stuff like that. It's very cute. I quite enjoyed it. Would recommend that, although I wouldn't say it was the best thing ever. It's more a enjoyable, quiet kind of graphic novel. It's not like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is the best thing ever. Would recommend, but just on a low level of excitement recommend, if that makes sense. Then I read a book that has been doing the rounds for the last few months and I've been very excited to read but not had a copy of, so finally got myself a copy and read it, and I understand the hype. I really enjoyed it. So it is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I gave this 4.5 stars. Now, it should really get lower than that, in my opinion. However, I really, really loved it, and the things that were wrong with it, I kind of found myself excusing because I really liked it. Take with that what you will, because it does have a lot of problems, which I'll get to in a minute. This follows two guys, the Prince of England and the first son of the President of America. They have this really bad public relationship. They really don't like each other. They've never got on. They always like fight with each other, and there's a royal wedding. They get into a fight, knock over the wedding cake. Very, very, very dramatic. And so both of their PR teams come together and they're like, right, you guys need to make up in front of people. Like, you need to be seen with cameras, being friends, you need to go and do stuff together. Like, we need to sort this shit out because, you know, it's a PR nightmare. And so yeah, they start to spend more time together, and that's the basis of this book. We've got another hate to love, which, like I said, I enjoy. I really did enjoy this book. I think it moves really fast and it has a lot of outside stuff that I find really enjoyable in terms of like not just the main plot. So I really enjoyed hearing more about like American politics and presidency and like how things work within the White House, because I have no idea. I'm not American. I don't know anything about American politics. It seems very different to English politics. So it was really interesting in that way. Loved having a little bit of an insight into all that stuff going on. We have quite an array of characters, which I really enjoyed. There isn't just like two main characters and no one else. We have quite a lot of other characters. Now, I will say, this brings me on to one of my first complaints about this book, that it doesn't give us a wrap for a lot of those characters, and it bothered me. And there's a lot of hints within this book about things that could be going on between characters, and you never get any closure. You never find out if they're happening. There's this scene where someone comes out of a room, another person comes out of a room after them. They've both been in the room together, and the narrator notices there's like a smear of lipstick under their neck. I'm keeping this very no character names so that I don't spoil it for anyone. But basically, like, the narrator notices it and is like, oh, I wonder how that got there and blah blah blah. And you're like, is there some sort of relationship here? Is there something going on here? And it's hinted at in other parts of the book as well, and then you never find out. You never find out at all. Also, like, one of the main characters doesn't really want to live where they're living and they're unhappy, but they stayed there because someone in their family was upset, and at the end of it they find out they're going to carry on being in their situation that they're in and they're really happy. And I'm like, the whole book you've been complaining that you don't like being in this situation, that you're only in this situation for other people who are now in a better position, so you could leave and get out of that situation, and you're just not doing. You're just staying and saying that you're happy with it now, and it's kind of like, okay, that's a bit of a 180. If anyone's read the book, you might get who I'm talking about. If you've not, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to like do it without telling you any character names or any pronouns or anything so that you won't know who they are, so it won't spoil it for you. But yeah, that basically really bothered me. And then the writing style bothered me slightly because it feels like it's first person, and it, as you're reading it, everything flows, and then you'll get to a paragraph and it'll be like, Alex thought this, and you're like, oh. And it kind of just like pulls you out for a second. And I didn't have it with any other parts. It was only when it'd be like, Alex did this, Alex said this, da 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 da. It'd really pull me out of the story, and it happens quite frequently. And I found that even like right up until the end, it still pulled me out a bit. They're like my negatives, and they did really bother me. That's why I'm like, I should have given it a lower rating. However, I really liked the story. I really liked the stuff that was going on. I really liked the characters, and I found myself thinking about it a lot since. I really liked it. So the negatives that I'm saying are pretty big negatives. I'm not going to downplay them at all. but for me, like, I could see past them. I enjoyed the story anyway. I'd recommend this, but with a pinch of salt, it's got its problems. And I would also say this is new adult, not young adult. I feel like maybe people are thinking this is young adult and it's not. There's a lot of sex in here, which I thought was quite nice. I enjoy sex in books, and I think it's quite good when it's like LGBT plus sex scenes, because LGBT plus people don't get any sexual education, and sometimes you kind of just like don't know what to expect when you go into a like sexual situation. So I think this is good just for like people to have more of an awareness. It talks about condoms, it talks about lube, it talks about a lot of different things. I think this is good. I liked it. Would recommend, with a pinch of salt, as I said. Next we had another reread, so I'm not going to talk about it that much. However, it was History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, and I listened to this on audiobook. The first time I read it, I read this copy, so I was quite excited to read it on audiobook, and I'm really glad that I did. This is definitely my favourite of Adam Silvera's books, and I think it is so well written. I hate so many characters in this book. Absolutely loathe them, and still think that it's written well and it doesn't reflect badly on the writer. I don't mean I hate them because they're bad characters. I mean I hate them because they are so human. They are so human and so irritating and so annoying, but like it works well. They're good. They're like fully formed humans, so that was cool. I didn't tell you what this is about. So this is about Griffin. Griffin had a boyfriend called Theo, and Theo has recently died. Griffin goes to his funeral and meets his new boyfriend, Jackson, and we basically go between what's happening now, him dealing with the death of his ex-boyfriend and not being allowed to be the person who grieves his ex-boyfriend because he's not his boyfriend, and that sort of a thing. And then we go back in time to when Griffin and Theo were together, how they met, and we like move through how that relationship ended and that sort of a thing. This is definitely Adam Silvera's best book, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not counting What If It's Us because I love that book, and it's with Becky Albertalli, so it doesn't count. I don't really love More Happy Than Not, just wasn't my thing. I really enjoyed They Both Die at the End, but it had its issues. This, I just think, is phenomenal. I hate the main character. I hate the way he treats the love of my life. What is he called? Wade. I love Wade. Wade is like the shining beacon star of this book. I absolutely love him. He is the nicest person ever, and I love him. I love him so much, and he is shit on by everyone in this book. Absolutely and completely shit on. I hate the way Griffin treats him. I hate the way Theo treats him. Can't stand Theo in general. Can't stand the way Theo treats Griffin. Can't stand that he keeps him hanging on for so long. It just seems so ridiculous. I quite like Jackson. Jackson got fucked over as well. Basically, Griffin and Theo, terrible people, can't stand them. That is because they are so human. They're so selfish, and it works. That's what humans are. So it's fine. Like, it's not a reflection on the book being badly written. I'm pretty sure I gave this 4.5 stars. It always sticks at a 4.5 stars, mainly because I do hate the characters so much. It occasionally makes me like not get into the story as much. Like, I'm not behind the main relationship in this book because I don't like one of the characters in it, so I'm like, fuck off, you don't deserve him. I do love it. I think it's incredibly well written. The way the timelines come together is phenomenal. The way that you kind of have twists in this book, they come out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere, and it's a masterpiece. I really enjoy it. I would recommend it. It's definitely Silvera's best work on his own, not counting What If It Does, because I love What If It Does so much. Anyway, that's that one. Okay, so next we have another book that I bought because I was like, I need some LGBT reads. This one has been making its rounds and I want to read it. So disappointed. It is Tell Me How You Really Feel by Aminah May Safi. Okay, let's rewind. So this book is about a girl called Sana and a girl called Rachel. Sana went and asked out Rachel, maybe when they were around 16. I don't know. I don't understand all these like 7th grade, 8th grade things. But she asked her out a few years prior. Rachel thought it was a joke. The popular girl who's a cheerleader asking her out, embarrassing her. Hated her ever since. Another hate to love. I feel like I have a niche in this video. Anyway, then they run into each other and shit happens, and they basically get assigned to work with each other for Rachel's final project, which is to make a movie. Both very angry about it, and it's basically about them learning to like each other, and does that like become more? So, positives about this book. I quite liked them together. I liked the chemistry between them, which I thought was done really well. I liked some of the side characters. I liked that you went a lot into Sana's family. I thought that was really cool. I liked Rachel's dynamic with her parents. I liked that we got a lot of different cultures in here. I think Rachel was Jewish Mexican maybe, and Sana, maybe she was Muslim, I can't remember, but they're both from very rich cultures, and so it was really cool to like see those cultures playing out. I didn't enjoy how much those took away from the main story. So Sana's side plot that relates to her family and what she wants to do, I think is given way too much page time, and it takes away so much from the main storyline that's going on. There's a fine balance because it is a subplot and it's given centre stage as if it's the main plot sometimes, which bothered me because it just took away from the main plot too much. What else did I not like? I didn't like the ending. I hate endings that are very public because I want that privacy, intimacy between characters. I think that just works a lot better, and it really like rounds something off. When you have an ending that's in front of a group of people, they're never going to say what they really think or really feel. It just felt a little bit like, oh, I wish this had happened in private and been a completely different ending. They were my problems. Just didn't love this book. Sana was injured 24/7, and I just don't understand how someone can get that injured and have no repercussions from any of the injuries that happened. Like, the injuries came from like car crashes and stuff, and no one seemed to get in any trouble for causing car crashes. It was insane. So I really liked the relationship, but I just feel like for a book that's meant to be a romance that centres around the relationship, it just wasn't. Again, this is new adult. I think it only has one sex scene in it, to be fair, but you know, heads up if you're thinking this is YA, because I feel like you could think this is YA, but it's not, it's new adult. Next, we have the only book that was a success from my actual TBR for the month of September. So in the month of September, I was supposed to be getting to all the books on my currently reading pile. I will say I haven't added any books to my currently reading pile, which is good. Usually I start about 5 books that go on to my currently reading every month, and it's very irritating. I haven't done that. None of these books have gone onto a currently reading pile. I haven't read any other books than these, except from an audiobook, but even now I'm 40 minutes off the end of that audiobook. Like, it's fine. So I only knocked 1 book off my currently reading pile, unfortunately, because I'm shit at my goals. But the one that I knocked off, I was very happy about because it was one that I was really hoping that I would read. It is Body Positive Power by Megan Jane Crabb. How to Stop Dying, Make Peace with Your Body and Live. This book is actually quite a big deal to me. There is a reason that books like this stay on my TBR, that I've not finished a lot of them. I have read a lot of feminism books, but any of the feminism books that I've picked up for personal stuff, like The Beauty Myth, I picked up for personal reasons. I picked this up for personal reasons. I picked up Overcoming Low Self-Esteem for personal reasons. The title of that one might tell you the personal reasons. And there's quite a few others that I've picked up for that reason. I never, ever, ever finished them. And the reason I never finished them is because I have this like fucked up thing that if I succeed in overcoming my low self-esteem or being body positive or any of those things, that I won't care anymore about what I look like, and how I look will get worse. Which is just ridiculous, because if I didn't care about how I looked like, then it wouldn't get worse, it'd just get better, because however I looked would be better than how I feel now, because do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense, but it's one of those things where like mental health stuff never makes sense, does it? So I'm very, 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 very proud that I finished this. It was quite a big deal that I finished it for me, just because, yeah, I've never finished one of them. And this book is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It goes into so many different things, like the dieting industry and why it targets people. It goes into this sort of fear of fat and the way that people talk about overweight people. Basically, there's this section here where she talks about someone called Flegel, who analysed 97 studies of mortality rates and BMI that included almost 3 million people, and she found like a U-shaped curve, and one of the things that she found was that people whose BMI fell within the mildly obese category had no higher risk of death than people within the normal category. The increased mortality rate came at the extremes on either side. People being overweight is really demonized by our society, but actually being ridiculously skinny is just as dangerous as being ridiculously overweight. It isn't dangerous to be 14, 16, 18, like it's not bad to be those sizes, it's not a danger to your body, but people act like it is, and there's like this demon hunt for fat people. And yeah, she goes into a lot of different stuff, and it was really, really fascinating. It's very well researched, but it's also written in a very readable way and very consumable, and she talks a lot about her own struggles. So she had anorexia when she was a teenager. That kind of followed her for quite a lot of her life, and when she was in clinics, so if you were really, really bad and they kind of can't, your family can't get you to eat and all of that sort of stuff, you can be put in facilities that can kind of help you. But she was put in facilities for mental health in general, not for eating disorders. The way that people talked to her, the way that she was treated by nurses, just is horrendous. It just shows that people just don't understand how to help people. This was just fascinating. I would actually really recommend this, and I enjoyed it. I'm very proud that I finished it. So there's that one. And then to finish off, I reread on audiobook a book that I've already reread this year, but I reread it because I was very excited for this month, which is still happening. I reread Carry On by Rowell because the new book of this is coming out. What new book, you say? This one. This hasn't got the cover on it because I didn't want to damage it, but it looks friggin' beautiful under the dust jacket. This is the second book to this one, and this one came out on my birthday, so like me and this book share a birthday. Very excited about that. I'm not talking about this book because I've actually not finished it. I'm like 70 pages off the end, so we're not talking about that. We're talking about this one, and this is Carry On. This is about Simon and Baz. It's a very like satire on Harry Potter kind of story. Loved it on reread, 5 stars again. I really love it, and I love it the more I read it. The more I read it, I notice all the other things. Like when you first read it, you kind of notice Simon and Baz most, obviously. And then you reread it, and as you reread it, you start to notice all the different things. Like there is like a very sad undertone to this book, even though it's extremely happy. Just like the way magic is used. So some people have wands, but like someone has a ring that they use. Someone uses their belt buckle, which is just hilarious. And the way that magic is used in here, like the phrases that they use are kind of like common phrases that other people use, and they're given magic by humans using them in general and giving them the power that then a magician can use them. It's really fascinating. Really enjoyed rereading this. I always enjoy it on a reread because I just feel like I get so much more of it in terms of like the other stuff, like the magic system and things like that. Also, like really enjoying this, but 70 pages off the end. Really annoyed that I got dressed and filmed this video and I'm going out after this and like 70 pages, like fuck off having a life and just finish the book, you know? So yeah, they're all the books that I read in the month of September, 9. I feel pretty happy with that. Let me know down below if you've read any of them, and if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I would love to know. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!